Yes, we did not. We did not win on the racetrack for sure, but we did. We made it to the final table again. I'd only participated in 2 blackjack tournaments my whole life, and I only did it because the hotel, gave me a position in it. And the timing worked out where we were not on track or not nearly on track during those times, and so I was in town. Casino host says, "Hey, got a spot for you here if you want to play." I did. I was, I definitely got nervous in that way more than I do anything that has to do with driving, but I think that's pretty normal. So last year, made the final table. They decided to chop up the pot. At the final table, there were 6 or 7 guys in the final table last year. They chopped it, and so I got a piece of the winnings. But interesting enough, this year, we got to the final table, and it was not a unanimous let's chop the pot scenario. So there was a gentleman who was very adamant that I don't want to chop the pot. I've come this far. I just want to win the whole thing. And then you had another one say, hey, how about let's get down to the final 3 or 4 people, and then let's renegotiate chopping. That way everyone gets more money if you make it to the last 3 or 4. And so we played, and the way they play it is that you play 15 hands. That's it at each table. And then you got to be one of the top 2 at the table to move on to the next table and the next table and next table. So I got through that process, got to the final, and then so each time it's 15 hands. You start with a chip stack, and basically you count your chips after 14 hands. And then you have to make a secret Jeopardy wager on how much you want to bet. And the winner, the chip leader, wins the event, right? So it gets down to the 14th hand. There's 4 of us left. And the 2 guys who were adamant on not chopping were still in it. And so one of them said, okay, I'll go ahead and chop now. The other one was the chip leader. And he says, I'm leading. I don't think this is... Let's just play this thing out. And so we played it out, and we did take like a portion of the money, like 20 grand, something like that, and took it off the table. Everyone got, hey, here's your, we did it pro rata of how many chips you had. We split that 20 grand up and then played for the rest. And so for me, I was the third highest chip stack of the 4. And I went all in. We're all in. So I said, all right, I'm going to place my bet to the amount of chips that I have. I won the hand. So I doubled up. The chip leader lost. He didn't bet that much, but he lost, and my double up jumped me over him. Then the other guy, who was the second leading chip stack, he won. But he only bet half his chip stack, which didn't cover my chip stack. And so I leaped over both of them, won the event.
You went from third to first.
Yes, in the final hand.
So really the only way you could have went there was if you bet everything.
Yes. Or they both lose, I win.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scenarios, right? But you're just doing math constantly because you're always looking at the chip stack of the person beside you, and you're not really playing the dealer. It's very interesting, the strategies of some of these guys. Some of these guys, it's crazy. They'll bet $100 a hand. Now, $100, this is a $10,000 chip stack. They just want to screw up the deck for everybody else. Yeah, so they'll get to 19, they'll keep hitting. And they're like, well, yeah, I'm not trying to win my hand. I'm just trying to screw everyone else's hand up. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar.
Because other people were betting more.
Right.
So they're just trying to wreak havoc on the deck. And so make the cards not come out as they should. I know, it's very weird. It's
at the expense of their own money. So it's just strategy.
It's a lot of it is strategy. I played pretty conventional to how I normally would play blackjack. And I just kept chipping away and gaining chips. And after 15 hands, the first table I had quadrupled my money. After 15 hands of the second table I was at, I tripled my money. And then the final table, I had 24. So I almost 5 times my money in 15 hands at each. So it was a good run.
Pretty good day.
It was a good run. Yeah.
Was it winner take all?
Yeah, winner take
So
all.
what was the regret like on those guys' faces that didn't want to chop it up? I always love this. I feel like that's karma. That's the gods.
There was
talking.
a guy there who he was kind of a country guy, and he was just like, he's like, that's what he gets. He was the guy who was like fourth. He finished fourth. He was just like, that's what he gets. I'm glad you won. Screw that guy. He didn't want to chop it. And so it is funny because I go to the cage to cash out. And so since we agreed to chop a portion of it, they're all just like waiting like vultures right over my back for me to pay them their portion. So it was fun. I definitely enjoyed it for sure. I'm not totally keen on the strategy, although I did make final table twice in the 2 times I've done it. But I think a lot of that is just you got to get good cards and, you got to be all in.
There's nothing wrong with beginner's luck.
There's nothing wrong with it.
One more thing. I know everyone jokes about my newfound celebrity from this podcast, but I think...
What?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I know. I hear you.
I think it hit a peak the other night because I realized that I big-timed Bruno Mars.
Did you just skip right by him?
I did. Yep. We were in line at this place.
Yeah.
And it was like Ty and then you and then Charlie and then me. And then you were introduced to Bruno Mars.
Yep.
And there was like a longer exchange there than anyone else had. So for a split second, I was like, wait, should I like take a photo of this? Like, this would be great social media content. But I'm like, no, there's signs everywhere that say no phones allowed whatsoever. So I'm like, no, I can't do that. But I threw off my focus. And then I looked away. And then I guess it got to me and he reached out to shake my hand. And I just like blew right by him. And then
Jared,
Nico, who was behind me, was like, hey, like he was trying to introduce himself, right? I was like, I had no idea.
Wow. Yeah, so we went to, I guess, Bruno Mars's lounge in the Bellagio. A friend of ours kind of said, hey, come here. So we went there, and I had forgotten about that because we walked in, and there was a no phone policy.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this. The crowd there, they didn't
have phones.
They didn't have phones. They used telegraphs back in their day. This was an old folks home. For Vegas. It was. It was. I mean, I'm just thinking, I understand the policy, no phones to be in there. However, you ask any 25 to 35-year-old to not use their phone, they're going to be like, screw this. I'm not going in there. Like, this is stupid. Yeah. So the crowd was seasoned a bit.
Yeah.
It was seasoned. And but it was fun. I liked how small it was. Music was good. Evidently, like, he has his little back table, and then he'll go up on stage every now and then and just...
Right. Well, 24 Karat Gold was playing, so he, like, walked out from his table, gave a little, and then went back.
That's awesome.
But I wanted to know, I was thinking about this in the moment. Obviously, you're great friends with Michael Jordan, and I would say that on a celebrity scale, everyone knows Michael Jordan, right? So, like, let's say he's 100.
Okay.
What is Bruno Mars on that scale? Like 0 to 100?
Or give me a 20 person.
I don't know.
I know. I mean, because I need to know the scale. Like you're saying the ultimate D.
Yeah, Travis. Who's a 20 person?
Well,
a NASCAR driver?
Well, it also depends. Like,
okay,
because
that's probably. I mean, more. I hear you, but more than 4 times the people know Michael Jordan than a NASCAR driver, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of base it off of notoriety. I'd almost put a NASCAR driver at like a 5 or a 10. Just depends
I'm just
on
trying to
which
think
one.
of celebrities.
Okay. All right. Let's just base it off of that. I'm going to say Bruno Mars is a 35.
A 35?
Yeah.
if you're walking down the street, I could see you
A
not
35?
recognizing Bruno Mars.
Yes.
But you walk down the street.
He's very recognizable.
Michael Jordan's 100 and Bruno Mars is a 35? I was
In the U.S.? Yeah. No?
No, I was going to say more like 90.
No.
Are you kidding me?
That's too high.
For Bruno Mars?
Okay. I see Jared's point.
He played the Super Bowl. He has like 80 million Spotify listeners monthly.
All right, fine. I'll give him a 60. He's not a 90.
Crazy.
Well, then what do you, a 95 though, Jared?
I'm just saying this came about because after that moment, I was like, I think that was probably the most famous person I've ever seen in the wild.
And you just blew him off because
yeah,
you're a celebrity yourself now.
apparently. Like it's just in the back of my mind, you know, like I didn't even make a rational decision. It was just.
I always judge a famous person by like, if like at an airport and I'm walk by, will I notice them?
You will for Bruno, right? Because he has a very distinct look.
He looks just like he does. Like he looks like he was dressed up for the Grammys. Like that just looks like his everyday appearance.
Yeah. So maybe we probably lowballed the 35.
I think you really lowballed the 30.
Okay.
At least we didn't, big time him. So
I mean,
All
it's
right.
probably a better story that way. I'll tell my kids one day that I big time Bruno Mars. Anyway,
You have an announcement?
no,
Oh, okay.
definitely not.
All right. When you kind of digest this whole Chastain Larson thing, you definitely have to go back earlier